What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Hinata, Ino, and Sakura fight to be Naruto's one and only in his bedroom? If you enjoy this video then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha were walking around their college campus. It was Friday night and they had nothing to do but homework. Naruto and Sasuke were your basic college students. They went to parties when they felt like it, they had amazing girlfriends, and had wonderful families back at home, waiting for them. Sasuke's girlfriend was Karen Uzumaki. She's Naruto's cousin, so as you probably guessed, they met through him. She was a sweet girl, had lots of friends and was very loyal, at least in his eyes. She had bright, red hair and dark brown eyes, but she wore red contacts most of the time since, as she put it, she wanted to be original. Everyone thought Sasuke and her were the perfect match. Naruto's girlfriend was Shiin Priestess. She had long, blonde hair and piercing, pale eyes. They almost looked gray. She was an outgoing girl and wasn't afraid to state her opinion. After meeting Karen, they became very close, and are now best friends. Like her best friend, she's seen as a very loyal girlfriend. Although she can get a little out of hand when she's tipsy. Overall, the boys were happy with their life, but they weren't happy with all the chapters they had to read for English. As soon as they headed through the door of their dorm, Naruto dropped his bag onto the floor and ran to the mini fridge in the corner, probably to eat some leftover ramen. "Oi, Dobi, we still have to read those chapters for English," Sasuke said. "Relax, Teme. It's Friday, we have tons of time." Naruto replied, "I would rather finish my homework today than on Sunday." "But Teme, shut up. You can't force me to do the homework though." "Fine, don't expect me to help you then." And with that, Sasuke got out the book they were reading, and started one of the 6 chapters they were told to read. Naruto was mumbling incoherent words as he sat next to his friend and began reading as well, knowing he would need help on the essay they had to write afterwards. The book was about things related to gangs and crime. Strange choice, but what else do you expect from a teacher like Orochimaru? After 2 chapters, the boys decided to check on their girlfriends. They haven't seen them since yesterday and haven't gotten a word about them since. When they got to Karen's dorm, Naruto said a quick goodbye to Sasuke before heading down to Shiin's dorm. Sasuke was happy to see his girlfriend again, but he won't be happy when he sees who's with her. Knocking on her door, he receives silence, but after a couple seconds he hears some shuffling. Thinking she may be asleep, and had just moved around on her bed or something, Sasuke used the spare key he had and opened the door. He was met with what he expected, a sleeping Karen. But upon closer inspection, he saw a lump under the blanket, a moving lump. Sasuke walked over to the bed and tapped Karen's shoulder to wake her up. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and immediately shot up. The blanket fell to her waist, showing she was half naked. Some groggy noises sounded from under the blanket and a guy Sasuke has never seen before sat up, also half naked. "What the hell is this Karen?" Sasuke demanded. He was very angry, and everyone knows an angry Uchiha is hella scary. Sasuke-kun, I can explain. Explain that you cheated on me? Was this a one-time thing or have you been doing it more than once? Karen hesitated, and then a guilty expression broke out on her face as she looked down. It's happened more than once. That's all Sasuke needed to know. We're done, Karen. And with that he walked out the door, dropping the spare key on her desk and picking up his. Naruto walked into the lobby that separated the 2 sections of dorms. When he got there he saw Shiin talking to a guy, probably one of her friends. Naruto started walking up to her, only to stop once he heard their conversation. "So, Shiin, do you have a boyfriend?" "Haha, nope, I'm very much single. Well, would you like to go on a date with me on Friday?" "I would love to." Naruto couldn't believe his ears. Shiin just played him hard. He walked up to them, and in a surprised voice he said, "Wow, Shiin, I didn't know you were single, thanks for letting me know." "Wait, Naruto," Shiin pleaded, but it was too late, Naruto was already gone. Back at the dorm, both boys were surprised to hear about each other's girlfriends. It all sounded like something out of a bad fan fiction. After some small conversation the boys fell asleep, only to be awakened by loud bangs and explosions. Sasuke jumped up, causing Naruto to be startled awake and fall off of his bed, onto the floor. Both of them jumped when they heard another bang, that sounded more like a gunshot. Although the Uchiha was better at hiding his emotions, both boys were scared and confused. Deciding to take the risk, Sasuke slowly walked to the window and peeked through the blinds. Outside looked like something out of an apocalypse movie. Cars were upturned, windows were shattered, and people were frantically running around, some had guns. Naruto walked up behind him and froze. Never had he seen such destruction in his life. Sasuke, what's going on? He asked. I don't know, Dobi. Come on, let's see if anyone's still inside. Sasuke replied. With that, the two boys headed out. In the halls there were papers strewn all about, and bullet holes in the walls. There were some people lying on the ground too, dead. Although shocked, the boys put on a brave face and walked ahead. In the lobby looked worse. There you could see the blood, making the whole thing look all the more gruesome. Suddenly they heard the doors open. Looking ahead they saw two figures walk in. Upon closer inspection, they saw that the two figures were girls, and were both holding guns. They both had on leather jackets with a symbol on the back that the boys couldn't decipher properly. One had short, pink hair, that went up to just below her shoulder blades. She had spring green eyes. The other has long black, hair tied in a ponytail. Her eyes were pale, paler than Shien's. They clashed nicely with her hair. The pink-haired one looked up at them and seemed slightly surprised, probably cause they expected everyone to be gone or dead. She walked up to them, her companion following after noticing the two boys. Hey, what are you still doing in here? The pink-haired one questioned. We thought everyone left or died already. Her friend continued. We woke up to this. Who are you guys anyways? Naruto exclaimed, he was too confused and tired for this. Sasuke really needed a dictionary. I'm Hinata Hyuga, the pale-eyed girl answered, looking to her friend as if demanding she introduced herself too. Sakura Haruno, the pink-haired girl said. She looked at the boys and questioned, and you are? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Datbeo. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. The girls looked at the boys, then at each other as if contemplating something. After seemingly agreeing with each other, the girls looked at them and continued on with the conversation. You both must be confused what's going on here, right? Hinata questioned. The boys nodded. Well, let me explain then. The USA has 5 major gangs that protect certain states from rogue gangs. Rogue gangs are gangs that don't want to protect the US as it is, but want to take it over. As we speak, one of the biggest rogue gangs in the country is starting an uprising. This gang calls themselves the Sound. The 5 major gangs are the Leaf, the Mist, the Sand, the Rain, and the Rocks. Me and Hinata are part of the Leaf. Right now you are in Mist territory, but we're here to help fight against the Sound's attack. So far we're losing as they have a bigger army than we expected. She was interrupted by the sound of gunshots nearby. Follow us, it's not safe here. We'll continue explaining later. Hinata ordered, the authority in her voice forced the boys to move. As they walked out of the building, they got to see the destruction up close, and it was not pretty. Trying to ignore the carnage, the boys followed the girls as they avoided obstacles and random burning things. A couple minutes later, they reached a sewer, at least that's what it looked like. Sakura and Hinata lifted up the cover and looked to the boys, as if they were waiting for something. What? Naruto asked. Jump, Sakura ordered. Wait, what? He exclaimed. Hinata sighed and looked to Sakura, getting a nod from the girl. She went to the sewer and sat on the edge before pushing herself off into the dark tunnels. Naruto and Sasuke looked at the sewer and then back at Sakura like she was crazy. What? Why? Naruto couldn't find words to describe how utterly confused he was. Are you people insane? Sasuke questioned. You could almost hear concern in his emotionless voice. No, this isn't a real sewer. Scattered around the country are entrances to secret underground tunnels disguised as sewers. Now jump down before I push you in, Sakura explained. Gulping slightly, Naruto sat at the edge of the hole before jumping in. Sasuke followed, although less frightened. His pride refused to let him be outdone by 2 girls and his idiot best friend. Lastly, Sakura went in, not before pulling the cover over the hole again, disguising it from society. And with that, the 2 boys' lives changed forever. Or did it? Sakura landed with a thud at the bottom of the hole. Hinata had gone ahead to prepare the rest of the gang for the newcomers' arrival. After losing the battle against Sound, Sakura, Hinata and a few other members set out to find new recruits, as they had lost quite a few members in the fight. Hinata and her saw potential in the two boys, and decided to give them a chance. Looking at the boys, she motioned them to follow her as she walked down the dim tunnel. Not wanting to be left behind by the mysterious girl, the boys hurried behind her. They honestly has no idea what came across them when they agreed to follow the girls, but it was better than being in the middle of the attack, that's for sure. After about 10 minutes of waking, Sakura came to a stop at a dead end. "Nay, Sakura-chan? Did you go the wrong way?" Sasuke raised an eyebrow at his blonde friend. Where had the "chan" come from? It's not like he cared or anything, he was just curious. "No, Naruto. Hold on a sec." Sakura flipped over a rock on the bottom of the wall, revealing a scan pad. Placing her thumb on the scanner, the little light above it turned green. Suddenly the wall that was standing before them slid sideways, revealing a large lounge. "Welcome to the Leaf," Sakura said, before walking in. Inside was very fancy for a gang hideout. It had large, comfortable-looking couches and recliners, a bar on the left wall, another door on the right, and a huge flat screen in the center. It was also full of people, even some kids. Naruto and Sasuke stared in awe. This is not what they expected a hideout to look like. Suddenly Hinata jogged up to them, holding 2 glasses of water. Handing it to the boys, she told them to drink as they must be tired after all they experienced today. "Follow us while you're drinking, we want to show you around quickly," Hinata said. The boys nodded. Walking behind them through the door on the right, they saw a hallway with several doors on either side. "These are some of the rooms our members stay in," Sakura explained. Walking down a series of other hallways, they made it the another door. Inside was what looked like a huge training facility. There were weapons, targets, obstacle courses and gym equipment. "This is where we train. It's also where we have our little fights here and there. See that board over there?" Hinata said, pointing to a board on the far wall that was numbered from 1 to 13. "What is it?" Sasuke asked. "It's how we keep track of who our strongest members are," Sakura said. The board read, 1. Sakura. 2. Hinata. 3. Neji. 4. Shikamaru. 5. Tenten. 6. Lee. 7. Sai. 8. Shino. 9. Kiba. 10. Choji. 11. Ino. 12. 13. Who's 12 and 13? Naruto questioned. Whoever can beat Ino will be 11, and Ino will become 12. If someone beats her again, that person will be 12, and Ino will be 13. Hinata explained. So you and Sakura are the strongest? Sasuke asked. Technically, Hinata and me would be tied for first, but I won one fight against her that put me in the lead. Sakura confirmed. Cool, I want to be on the top. Naruto exclaimed. It seems easy. We can probably take out the Ino girl quickly. Sasuke said. She's stronger than she looks. Hinata said. But there's something you should know. If you're on the list, you also become one of the most targeted members in our gang. Being on top comes with a lot of risks. Have you two been targeted? All the time, Sakura said. Well, me and Teme will make it to the top Datbeo. Naruto said proudly. Good luck, but this isn't what we brought you here for. Sakura said. Well, no shit, Sasuke said. Sakura glared at him before continuing. We want you two to join the Leaf. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other, as if having some sort of inner conversation. They looked back at the girls with determination-filled eyes. We'll join, Sasuke agreed. Yeah, we're gonna become the strongest gangsters ever. Then I'm gonna become the leader. You can be my co-leader Teme. Hinata scoffed at this. Well, you're gonna have to take me and Sakura down to do that. She's the leader and I'm the co-leader. The boys stared at them in shock for about the 30th time that day. How can two girls be gang leaders? Well, all we have to do is get to the top of the list, right? Naruto asked. No, idiot. By take us down we mean you have to kill us. The only other way would be if we willingly gave our positions to you. Hinata replied. Oh, Naruto said awkwardly. Anyways, since you joined we might as well give you two your rooms. Sakura said. Alright, come on Dobi. Sasuke said, following the pinkette who just walked back out the door. Naruto and Sasuke got rooms that were next to each other. They were medium-sized rooms, since they had to fit hundreds of rooms here, they couldn't give everyone huge rooms. The rooms were very plain, but the girls promised to help them decorate in the near future. They also needed clothes, as they only had what they were wearing. Let's just say they had a huge shopping trip coming up. The boys learned that everyone calls the strongest members the Leaf 11 feet, and that no one has taken any of them down since they got up there. If no one could take even the weakest of them, how were they supposed to? They could throw a couple punches, yes, but actually fight? They had no experience at all. Looks like things just got a whole lot more interesting. Hinata woke up to the noise of loud shuffling. Sitting up, she looked around to see Sakura shuffling through clothes, most likely to find her favorite sweatpants. "'Cause who doesn't have a pair?" Standing up, Hinata headed to the bathroom after wishing her friend a good morning. Brushing her teeth and hair, she walked back into her room to change. Similar to Sakura's outfit, she wore her favorite gray sweatpants and a black, loose t-shirt. They were training the recruits today, so there was no need to wear their normal gear. Walking out, she saw Sakura waiting for her next to their door. Smiling at her, Sakura motioned her head forwards, indicating they should begin walking towards the canteen. Seems like she wasn't in a talkative mood this morning. The walk was silent, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Reaching the big, double doors that lead to the canteen, the girls pushed them open. Inside was full of loud chattering and the sounds of silverware. In the center of the big crowd was the one big table reserved for the Leaf 11. Naruto and Sasuke were seated on the table next to them. Walking over to the line-up, the girls picked up their breakfast before walking over to their table. Nodding a hello to the new recruits as they passed by, they greeted their friends. "Hey guys," Hinata said. Sakura nodded her head in greeting. What was up with her today? "Yo guys, you look youthful as ever today," Lee replied. "Are those the new recruits?" Tenten questioned, motioning over to the boys seated next to them. Sakura nodded her head yes. "What's wrong, Sak? You're not one to stay quiet too long," Ino asked worriedly. Sakura made a motion to her throat. "Oh, are you feeling sick?" Kiba asked. She nodded yes again. "You should have rested today, nothing important is happening," Shino said. Sakura sighed and looked to Hinata, hoping she would explain. Understanding, Hinata explained how they were going to start training the new recruits today. "Well, don't overwork yourself, okay?" Neji said. He was very overprotective of his friends, or in Tenten's case, girlfriend. Sakura nodded her head again. Looks like she's going to be doing that a lot today. Her throat just hurt so much. At least she had great friends who cared about her. Naruto and Sasuke glanced over at the table. It seems the gang leader was sick. Naruto watched as Sakura was about to get up to throw away her leftovers, only for Hinata to get up and take both of theirs instead, telling the pinkette to rest. He thought the pale-eyed girl was sweet, taking care of her friend like that. She was beautiful too. He was excited to see if she could fight as well as he heard she could. Earlier they had met up with two other members, Suigestu and Jugo, who had told them of the girls' skills. The two members were former Otto citizens, but wanted to get away from the sound, so they joined the Leaf. Naruto wasn't the only one excited for training, the Uchiha was as well. Unlike his idiot friend, he wasn't focusing on the girls themselves, but their skills. If they were to have a practice fight, he or Naruto could probably take out Sakura, since she was sick. The Doug Butt was already planning strategies, though he didn't know he was severely underestimating the girls. After breakfast, the girls met up with the boys outside the doors of the training room. Motioning them to enter, the boys opened the doors and were once again in awe of the room. Hinata pushed the boys in and closed the doors. Her and Sakura walked over to the targets. "Come over here, we'll start off with target practice," Hinata yelled across the room, breaking the boys from their trance. When they reached the girls, Hinata began to explain to them the techniques they should use and what not. After that, Sakura demonstrated, hitting every target dead center. "Now you try," Hinata said, handing them a throwing knife each. Trying to mimic the position he saw Sakura in, Naruto aimed for the target, before throwing the knife with a swift, yet awkward flick of his wrist. The knife landed close to the edge of the board. "Not bad, for your first try. Most newbies would completely miss the board," Hinata said, smiling, with Sakura doing a thumbs up at him behind her. Sasuke mimicked Naruto, which is something he thought he would never have to do. His pride once again refused to let him be outdone. With the same flick of his wrist as Naruto, less awkwardly though, Sasuke threw the knife. It landed farther to the edge than Naruto's did. "I beat the TEME." Naruto cheered, as he began dancing around the room, making the girl's sweat drop and an irk mark appear on Sasuke's head. Growling, the raven walked up to the board to pull out his knife. He was going to practice till he beat that doby. Seeing his friend do this, Naruto ran back to his board as well. He was going to hit that target before his emo best friend, believe it. Meanwhile, the girls looked at each other. It seems they didn't have to do much to get the boys to practice. They were already dead set on beating each other. The two girls left the room. The boys wouldn't be leaving anytime soon, and they didn't. They left the next morning, tired and leaning on each other for support, but had proud looks on their faces. They had finally hit the target. The boys have been training for 2 weeks now, and they've become a little in over their heads. After the first week, Naruto thought he could fight Ino, but Hinata stopped him. After the second week, Sasuke started saying he could beat her too. Boys are so sometimes. Fine, if you really think you can beat Ino, we'll have her come and do a practice fight with you too, then we'll see if you're ready for the real thing. Sakura said. Her and Hinata had finally grown tired of the boys constantly complaining. Yes, dat bayo, I'm gonna win, Naruto exclaimed. TCH, only if I don't first. Sasuke said. Both of you shut up. You'll be fighting her tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hinata said. As soon as she said that, Naruto started complaining that it was too early. Sasuke simply blinked, but you could see the irritation in his eyes. Naruto, if we were ever attacked, you would have to be able to fight no matter how early or late it is. Think of this as another way of training, okay? Sakura said, trying to stop the blonde from being so loud. Oh okay, Naruto said, as he stopped his ramblings and started walking towards the boxing ring. Hey Teme, I bet I can beat you in boxing. As if Dobi, you can't even run a lap around the gym before getting tired. Sasuke said, yet he began walking towards the ring. Oh yeah, fight me then, TCH whatever. The boys began putting on their gloves and walking into the ring. The girls simply looked on in amusement. It seems their recruits loved to challenge each other. What they haven't seen much of is teamwork from the boys. If they were ever assigned a mission together, they would fail miserably if all they did was bicker. Smirking, Sakura looked to Hinata. I think I know the perfect person to teach these two idiots about teamwork. She said. Who? The pale-eyed girl questioned. My old sensei, Kakashi Hatake. The next day the boys woke up at 5:30 a.m. to get ready for the fight. They didn't think it would be very hard. Ino was a girl, so she should be weaker than them at least by a little. They ate some breakfast before heading out to meet the girls. The walk to the training room was quiet, it was too early to talk. Once they reached the room, they saw Sakura, Hinata and a girl with long, blonde hair tied in a high ponytail, sitting on the outer ring. The girl looked completely calm, like she wasn't about to have two fights. For some reason this set the boys on edge. Hinata suddenly looked up and signaled them to come over. As they walked over they saw the blonde girl raise an eyebrow at them. Was she impressed? Disappointed? Who knew? This is Ino. Good luck, you'll need it. Sakura said, motioning towards the blonde girl. I won't be going easy on you guys, okay? Ino said. The boys nodded. Alright, Naruto you're first. Hinata said. I'm gonna win dat bayo. The boy exclaimed. 2 minutes later, Naruto dropped to his knees. He was completely worn out already. Ino was fast. Suddenly the Uchiha felt a knot of nervousness in his stomach, but he refused to show it. He simply walked up into the ring after his friend exited. He looked at the girl, she hadn't even broken a sweat. Their fight was a little longer, but 5 minutes later Sasuke put up a hand, signaling he gave up. How? You're a girl, Naruto exclaimed. Ino hit the back of Naruto's head. You idiot, never underestimate an opponent, that's one of the first rules you should have learned. She scolded. Sakura sighed, at least the boys could fight a bit now. They weren't exactly experts, but it would do for now. Hinata looked over at her friend, thinking the same thing. The girls hadn't trained anyone since the gang was new, and they didn't have many members to help train newbies. That was over 2 years ago. Both the girls' families were in debt to the gang in its early stages, so she, Sakura and Neji had come to try and repay the gang. The same can be said for most of the Leaf 11. Over time the group of friends became attached to the gang, and worked their way to the top. They decided to stay. She was woken up from her nostalgia by a certain blonde boy with blue eyes. It seems everyone had left except them. Hinata-chan, wanna get some ramen with me for lunch? Naruto asked. Hinata smiled softly. Sure, and with that the two headed out. After the door closed behind them, a smirking pinkhead and blonde came out from the shadows. Looks like they had some matchmaking to do. The gang didn't have many couples, but that didn't mean people don't catch feelings. Take Neji and Tenten for example, they've been dating for over 2 years. Shikamaru and the Sans co-leader, Tamari, were a cute couple too. So when Ino and Sakura saw Naruto and Hinata go out for ramen, they immediately wanted to try and get them together. Having relationships when you're in a gang was kind of dangerous, cause anyone could die. It happens, but not having anyone close to you can become frustrating at times. Even the loneliest people need to vent out. Deciding they needed a plan, the two friends headed to Ino's room to map it out. We should send them on an easy mission together, since Naruto's still a trainee. Ino suggested. What about a patrol mission then? Sakura asked. Perfect. You can go sort out the details and I'll find them. Alright, meet me in my office. Okie dokie. With that, Ino skipped out of the room happily, Sakura following her. At her office, Sakura began to file out the mission, and get ready to file their mission report when they got back. She sighed, being gang leader involved a lot of paperwork, not to mention she still needed to sort out getting Kakashi to train their new recruits. Her desk was piled high with papers and random folders. How did Tsunade do it? Sakura guessed that the alcohol got her through it, maybe she should try that. Suddenly her office door banged open. We're here Sakura-chan, what do ya need? Naruto shouted. Sakura and Hinata, who was behind him, covered their ears. Well, I wanted you both to go on a patrol mission for me. Just around the area, nothing too far. Sakura explained. Why me Sakura? Isn't that mission a bit too easy for me? Hinata questioned. Naruto can't go alone, he's still a trainee. I don't trust the other members' ability to guide Naruto, so I hope I can trust you. Hinata smiled. Of course then, Sakura. Can I have a route? Sakura handed Hinata a piece of paper with a highlighted stretch of road on it. Naruto peered over the dark-haired girl's shoulder. We're going there? Why? He asked. Hinata sighed. To patrol, idiot. That's why it's called a patrol mission. She explained. Oh. Hinata giggled and waved goodbye to her pink-haired friend, pulling the blonde outside with her. Naruto looked around the street. It was really quiet for 5 p.m. Usually there would be traffic jams and people crowding the city, but now it looked like a ghost town. Did everything really change that much when the sound attacked? He could walk into a store and take something right now, and no one would stop him. He could scream and no one would look at him like he's crazy. Well, except the pretty girl walking next to him. Hinata-chan, can I scream? He asked. What kind of question is that? Hinata looked at him weirdly. Well, since no one is here I wanted to do things I couldn't normally do. He explained. Hinata laughed quietly at the boy's idiocy. Naruto, these streets are made of paper, one wrong move and they'll rip. Naruto stared at her a while, trying to figure out what she meant. What? If you scream, we have an 80% chance of being found by sound members, and this whole street will turn into a mini battlefield. Oh. After that they walked in silence, not an awkward one, but a comfortable one. Hinata was thinking most of the time that she was somehow warming up to the blonde knucklehead. That was an achievement on his part. It took her 5 months to completely warm up to the Leaf 11. Naruto, however, already knew he had a small crush on the girl. Who wouldn't at some point? She was pretty, smart, brave and very kind. He looked at the girl next to him and smiled. He was lucky to have met her, that's for sure. Suddenly, his little moment was interrupted by the sound of gunshots. The gunshots had come from about 2 blocks down, Hinata thought. She grabbed Naruto and ran into a nearby alleyway, hoping to stay out of sight. In the alley, her and her blonde companion were merely inches away from each other. If she hadn't been so focused on the nearby attack, she would be blushing the same shade of red as her partner. Naruto, however, has never felt this jittery sensation in his stomach before, not even with Shien. So why was he feeling it now? He looked down at the focused girl in front of him and knew it had to be because of her. Hearing the gunshots quiet down, Hinata waited a while to make sure the coast was clear before backing away from Naruto. This left the blonde slightly disappointed, but he didn't show it. Come on, we should head back quickly. Hinata said. Why yeah. Naruto agreed, still feeling weird. Back at the base, Hinata went to give the mission report to Sakura, while Naruto headed to his dorm. Well, you were pretty close to where the last sound attack was, so maybe there were still some rogues around. Sakura reasoned, still worried about how close the gunshots were from base. The next leader meeting is in Sand territory, so we can discuss as then. Hinata said. But we lost Mistu and Kai when we were defending the Mist's territory, so you need 2 new guards. Well, I'm still bringing you and Shika, maybe we can bring Naruto and Sasuke? They're good enough to be guards, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'll head over to let them know, we're leaving at 5 AM sharp, right? Yes, thank you Hinata. The next day, Sasuke and Naruto met up with the other 3 in front the cafeteria. They ate some breakfast and as planned, left at 5 AM. The girls led them to a huge garage, filled with cars, trucks and motorcycles. Hopping into a black car, they drove off. The ride would take around 2 hours, so they had a lot of time to get to know one another. Sakura and Hinata got the details on the boys' separate breakups, and the girls told them how they joined the gang. Shikamaru told them how he got together with Tamari, and about his best friend, Choji. By the time the trip to the sand was over, everyone was tired and ready for a good nap. Gaara, Kankuro and Tamari were waiting outside the hidden doorway for them. They greeted each other and walked into the sand's base. Naruto got along with them great, but Sasuke stayed more to himself. Sakura took note of that, she'll have to get him to open up more. Getting to the meeting room, Hinata, Sakura and Shikamaru went inside, while Naruto and Sasuke stood guard. It was a very boring job to the boys. All they did was stand there until the meeting was over. What was the point of guards? The boys never knew about the countless guards who have died standing right where they were, or how many times they were attacked, they had yet to find out. When Sakura, Hinata and Shikamaru came out they all looked tired and stressed out. The meeting had gone on for over 4 hours. Why does the sound have to be so troublesome? Shikamaru drawled. TCH, we have 60 days to train enough members to go into battle, or else we're screwed. Sakura added, massaging her temples. Be battle? Naruto exclaimed. Hinata put a hand on his shoulder to calm him down. Yes Naruto, the 5 biggest gangs in America are going to fight against the sound in 60 days. Hinata confirmed for him. Let's go to our hotel to finish this discussion. Sasuke suggested, seeing that all the other leaders were long gone. Sakura looked around. Yeah, let's go. At the hotel, the girls filled the guys in on what happened. Shikamaru went out with Tamari, leaving just those 4. The Leaf needed to train at least 40 out of the 126 recruits they had so they could stand against the sound, if not they would most likely be defeated. After filling them in, Naruto and Hinata went out for dinner, which Sakura was sure to tell Ino about later, and Sasuke went out to buy some takeout for himself, leaving the pink cat alone. Sakura found herself stressing over everything. Were her parents safe? What if the sound attacked early? What if they run out of time? She still had paperwork back at base to finish, times to set up for training, more meetings with the elders. Oh how she hated those elders. Sakura decided she would deal with all her problems like her sensei, Tsunade, did. She would find herself some vodka and watch Mean Girls. Sasuke was in his way back to the hotel. He had decided to buy some takeout for Sakura as well, since she was technically his superior. Plus, the girl didn't have anything to eat other than the mints the hotel left on the pillows, yet when he walked in he was met with a surprise. Sakura was sprawled on the couch, a half-empty bottle of vodka in her hand that she probably went out and bought, and the end credits of a movie on the TV screen. The almighty gang leader was barely awake, she was drunk. Sasuke had to bite back a laugh. Was she really a leader of one of the strongest gangs in America? The girl was murmuring things to herself as well, something about paperwork and keeping everyone safe. That brought a smile to the dark-haired man's face. Even while drunk she still cared about her members. Sasuke gently took the bottle out of her hands and picked her up bridal style. He carried the girl to what he assumed was her bed, and lay her down, pulling the blanket over her. Sakura immediately fell asleep, and Sasuke looked her over. He put a stray strand of her hair behind her ear and smiled again. She was indeed beautiful. He stepped away and walked over to the door. Opening it, he gave her one last glance before walking out of the room to his and Naruto's. If you looked close enough you could see a hint of pink on his cheeks. Sakura woke up with a killer headache and groaned. Maybe trying her sensei's method wasn't a very good idea. She got off the bed and began walking to the washroom, before she came to an abrupt halt. How did she get in her room? Maybe Naruto helped Hinata get her there. When they came back, shrugging, Sakura began walking again. When she got out, she changed into some clothes and saw a note on the nightstand. Picking it up, she read it. Hey Sakura, I saw some takeout on the coffee table, so I put it in the mini fridge for you. Sasuke said he bought it for you, but when he got here you were asleep on the couch. When you wake up, meet us in Sand's base, and take some Advil for your hangover cause I know you have one. Your fabulous best friend, Hinata. Smiley face. Sakura laughed at the end of the note before she stopped, and her eyes widened. If it was Sasuke who found her, that means he carried her to her bed, right? Sakura's face heated up slightly before she shook her head. He was just being nice. Putting the note down, Sakura found the takeout in the fridge and heated it up in the microwave. She ate while she walked to the Sand's base. Looking at her watch, her eyes widened when she saw the time. It was 12:45 p.m. Sakura's walk became a sprint as she ran to the base, throwing her garbage in a garbage can she passed by. Quickly jumping down the hidden tunnel, Sakura ran all the way to the doors. Inside, she nodded to a couple people she passed by before she got to Gaara's office. She opened the doors and saw everyone inside. They didn't seem annoyed at her, so that's good. Glad you decided to join us, Sakura. Gaara greeted, giving her an amused look. Hey, sorry I'm late, Sakura said, giving an embarrassed smile. Well, you guys are leaving soon, so Hinata can explain what you missed on the ride home. He told her. Sakura nodded and walked out the door with the rest of her group. Hinata turned to her with an amused glint in her eyes. So Sakura, how was your night? Sakura gave her an exasperated look. It was great, she replied, slightly sarcastic. Naruto chuckled before he grabbed Hinata's hand, making her cheeks turn slightly pink. Sakura raised her eyebrows at this before giggling at her. Seems like her friend had a soft spot for the blonde. Me and Hinata-chan are going out, see you guys later, he said, running off with her. I'm gonna spend the remaining time we have here with Temari, CYA. Shikamaru said, giving a small wave. Sasuke turned to her. Looks like it's just you and me, huh, leader? Yeah, I guess, Sakura said, before she grabbed his hand and walked out the base. Let's get lunch. The car ride was quiet, as most of them fell asleep. Naruto was driving, so he was the only one who stayed awake the whole time, but every now and then he'd glance at Hinata in the passenger seat and smile. When they got there, everyone got out and stretched before walking into base. Waiting at the entrance was no other than Kakashi Hitaki, the man who trained Sakura when she first got here, and recommended her to be Tsunade's apprentice. Hey Kakashi-sensei, Sakura said, giving him a hug. Kakashi laughed and patted her head. Well, if it isn't Sakura, I haven't seen you in months. It looks like everyone missed the slight killing intent coming off of Sasuke when Kakashi hugged her back. Hello Kakashi-sensei, how are you? Hinata greeted the man with a warm smile. Now it was Naruto's turn to let go some killing intent. Shikamaru just raised an eyebrow at the two before he gave a nod to Kakashi and walked into base. If Kakashi was here, that means the other senseis were too, and he wanted to see Asuma. Ah, Hinata, Kurenai is inside with the other senseis. Hinata grinned at that and walked inside as well. Kakashi-sensei, these are the new recruits I was telling you about, Sasuke and Naruto, Sakura said, gesturing to the boys. I was wondering if you would become their sensei. Naruto and Sasuke choked on their spit. Wait, I want you and Hinata-chan to train is. Naruto exclaimed. Sasuke nodded in agreement. Me and Hinata will still train you, but we have a lot of things on our schedule, so Kakashi-sensei will train you sometimes too, Sakura said. Oh, okay, Naruto agreed. Alright boys, get to the training room, you have test, Kakashi said. Both of you will fight me at the same time. If you get the bell you pass, if you don't you can't become a real Leaf member. You have 1 hour, Kakashi said. What? That's not fair. Plus there's only one bell, Naruto exclaimed. That means only one of you will pass, I guess, Kakashi said. Start. Naruto got the bell. How? Well, he distracted Kakashi with one of his ramen stories before he snatched the bell and ran. He hid under the boxing ring for the rest of the hour. Well Naruto, it looks like you pass, sorry Sasuke, Kakashi said. Sasuke sighed and ran a hand through his hair. How did the Dobi beat him? Wait, if Sasuke can't become a member yet, then I can't either, Naruto said, giving Kakashi the bell. Sasuke looked at him like he was crazy. He thought Naruto would just rub it in his face. And why is that Naruto? Kakashi questioned. Cosme and Sasuke are supposed to be partners, at least that's what Sakura-chan told us. How can I do missions without him? Naruto explained. We can't do the missions by ourselves, we need to work together. Sasuke said. Well then, you both pass. Kakashi said. What? Both boys exclaimed, confused. The real point of this test was to see if you both could use teamwork. After seeing how you two stuck together, I knew you would be able to use it. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other before doing a fist bump. Meet me here every Wednesday at 7 a.m. for training, see you later. Kakashi said, before walking away. Let's go tell Sakura-chan and Hinata-chan. Naruto said. They needed to finish training 18 more people in 2 weeks, the stress was eating away at everyone. Sasuke and Naruto had finished their training with Kakashi yesterday, and were now training other recruits. Sakura, Hinata and Shikamaru had barely been at the base in the past week due to random meetings in other territories, and for some reason the two boys missed them. Not only that, but they were going into a literal war in 2 weeks. Only about 2 months ago did they join the Leaf, and look at them now, they were, as everyone else calls them, Chunin. Oi, Sasuke? Naruto asked. What dobi? Sasuke replied. I'm kinda maybe sorta scared. The blonde said quickly, his face heated up in embarrassment. You dumbass. If you're gonna speak, do it properly. The onyx-eyed boy scolded. Geez, sorry. I said I'm scared. Oh, well you should be. Sasuke said and walked away. He had finished training his students today and was headed for the canteen. Naruto sighed and looked back at his students, who were no older than 14. Their names were Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. They were a lively bunch, and Konohamaru had the same goal as him, surprisingly. To be on top. 3 days later, the list of the top 13 looked like this. 1. Sakura. 2. Hinata. 3. Neji. 4. Shikamaru. 5. Tenten. 6. Lee. 7. Sai. 8. Shino. 9. Kiba. 10. Choji. 11. Naruto. 12. Sasuke. 13. Ino. Well, it looks like we're the Leaf 13 now. Neji stated, staring at the sign. I can't believe I lost. Ino seethed. Oh well, she'll get over it. I can't wait till Hinata-chan and Sakura-chan come back and see. Naruto exclaimed. Tch Dobi. Sasuke said at his friend's excitement. Secretly he couldn't wait for Sakura to come back and see he got onto the board. The boys have become quite popular now, as they took down one of the strongest members. They had girls flirting with them left and right, and guys envying them. The fangirls were a bit annoying though, it was okay for the first couple of hours before they started getting scary. Sasuke and Naruto walked down the long hallways of the base, bored. They had confessed their feeling for the girls to each other, which was surprising for Naruto. He thought Sasuke would just hide it, but he didn't, he actually told him. Of course they weren't going to tell the girls, they only knew them for 2 months. Not only that, but the girls didn't look like they felt the same way, at all. The sound of her feet hitting the ground echoed through the empty streets. She gave up on trying to keep quiet long ago, when she lost Sakura and was on her own. They were in Rain's territory when they were attacked. They had been walking back to the hotel after a long meeting when at least 50 or so sound members ganged up on her, Sakura and Shikamaru. They managed to take down around 20 of them before they needed to run. Along the way they lost Shikamaru first, when they ran down an alleyway and he ran into a different one. She lost Sakura 10 minutes ago when they reached a fork in the road, and they split up without thinking. Now Hinata was alone, and for the first time in years she was beginning to panic. The bang of a gunshot in the distance forced the girl to pick up her pace. She needed to get away from here and to a base. She needed to find Sakura or Shikamaru, she needed to do something. Sakura groaned and opened her eyes. When she lost Hinata, she was cornered at a dead end and knocked out. She looked around trying to figure out where she was. It looked like some sort of interrogation room. She was seated on a metal chair with her arms and legs tied down. In front of her was a metal table with another chair on the other side. At the far end of the room was a door, and next to it was some one-way glass. What caught her attention though was the insignia on the door. It was the Sounds logo. Suddenly the door opened and a dark-haired man and a red-haired woman walked in. If they were anything like Ibiki, she should be worried. Shikamaru panted as he hid behind a garbage can. Only 3 sound members followed him and he managed to get rid of all of them. Now he was just worried for his friends. It was late at night, so no stores or cafes were open for him to go rest in. His best bet was to use the underground tunnels and find a base. Going back to Rain's base was too risky. He might get caught by sound members again. The closest territory to here was Sands. Looks like he'll be visiting Tamari again. With a sigh, Shikamaru found the closest tunnel and jumped in. He began running towards the sand. Every second counts. Hinata panted with sweat dripping down her forehead. She lost them. It took a lot of running, random turns and jumping over a damn creek, but she lost them. Looking around, she only saw forestry. Great, she was lost in a forest at around 1 a.m. Her best bet would be to wait until morning and follow the sound of cars out of the forest, and hopefully find a road to follow. She sighed and leaned against a tree. A couple hours of shut-eye wouldn't be bad. Sakura spit out blood and glared at the 2 interrogators. These 2 were brutal, but not as bad as Ibiki. Heck, no one could be worse than Ibiki. Now Sakura-sama, are you sure you don't want to drop out of the war? It would really give us an upper hand. The redhead said in a mocking tone. They were trying to get as many of the 5 gangs to drop out so they would have an upper hand in the war. Sakura stayed quiet, earning her another slap. The man brought forward a knife and cut along her cheek. Crimson liquid dripped down her face and Sakura hissed. It stung, but she's been through worse. Listen here, Pinky, we'll kill you if you don't agree. Who'll run your precious gang if you're dead? He asked. Sakura stayed quiet. They were really stupid, honestly, Sakura thought. If she died, Hinata would take over and one of the Leaf 11 would take over as co-leader. Fine, stay quiet. The woman said before taking the dagger and stabbing Sakura's hand, making the pink cat scream. We'll be back later, the man said, before he walked out with the woman trailing him. Sakura lowered her head and looked at the blood from her hand drip onto the floor. She felt so useless. Shikamaru covered his eyes with his arm as he lay down. He had reached sand about an hour ago and the only person awake was the leader himself. It was around 6 a.m. now, and although they told him to sleep, he was too worried and stressed to even close his eyes for a second. The Leaf had been alerted and he could only imagine the havoc going on there. He knew for sure Sakura and Hinata were strong enough to hold out on their own, but what if they were caught? They could have gotten lost as well. The lazy boy groaned and rolled over. This was all too troublesome. Right then the door to his room opened, letting in the bright lights of the hallway. Tamari walked in and looked at her boyfriend with sympathy. She closed the door and walked over to the bed. Sitting on it, she began rubbing his back, in hopes of helping him relax. Suddenly Shikamaru turned around and grabbed her hand, pulling her down next to him. He wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her closer, before closing his eyes and finally falling asleep. Tamari looked at him and softened her eyes, before turning around and hugging him back. Hinata woke up to blinding sunlight and rustling leaves. She groaned and slowly sat up. Rubbing her eyes to get the sleep out of them, she looked around a bit before remembering what happened last night. Getting on her feet, she tried listening for any sound of cars or people. Finding nothing but the sound of nature, the dark-haired girl sighed, and began walking in a random direction. She could only hope Shikamaru and Sakura were okay. Sakura woke up in the same metal chair. The only difference this time was the blinding pain in her hand and the small puddle of half-dried blood at her feet. She let out a small groan before she began feeling lightheaded and nauseous. Looks like she was suffering from blood loss. There were obviously no windows in the room, so she had no idea what time it was. She didn't even know how long she was asleep. The only door suddenly cracked open and the same man from yesterday walked in, this time without the woman. Well, look who finally decided to wake up, he said. Sakura stayed quiet. She barely had enough energy in her to look up at him. Not gonna answer me? How rude, he said again. This time he cut along her collarbone. Any higher and he could have slit her throat. Sakura let out a hiss. There's no way in hell I'll have the Leaf drop out of the war. Sakura growled lowly. The man chuckled. Fine then, but the least you can do is give us some information. Sakura only gave him a weak glare. Tell me, how many members will each gang approximately have fighting? He asked. I don't know, Sakura replied. Wrong answer, he said before stabbing her thigh, making Sakura scream. She gripped the arm rests on the chair, trying to block out the pain. It seems a knife alone won't make you crack. I'll be back in a few minutes, he said before walking out of the room again. leaving Sakura to watch the puddle of blood on the floor grow. Naruto was close to hyperventilating. After hearing that Sakura, Hinata and Shikamaru were attacked, he's been worried sick. He wasn't the only one either, the whole base was at the edge of being chaotic. The ones trying to calm everyone down and get everything back in order were the original Leaf 11. Sasuke was trying to help out as well. His usual pride refused to let him show any sign of worry. Naruto began taking deep breaths. Hinata would be fine. At least he hoped she would. Sasuke was inwardly panicking, but he refused to show it. He's become very attached to the pinkhead, and just the thought of her being hurt made his heart leap to his throat. He looked around at the panicking members. Some were gathering weapons for an unknown reason. Others were simply running around trying to figure out what was happening. He looked over to his idiot best friend and slightly frowned when he saw the panic look on his face. He walked over to him and put a hand in his shoulder. "Naruto?" he asked, shaking the blonde's shoulder slightly. As if snapping out of a daze, Naruto shook his head and answered. "Oh, hey Teme." Sasuke merely sighed at the nickname. "Come on, let's try to help the Leaf 11. We're one of them now, so we should be calm as well. Yeah, let's get this settled down and save the girl's Datbeo." She was so happy she might have started crying. She finally found a road. Not only that, but Hinata spotted a hidden tunnel just across the street. Looking around, she recognized the area as sand territory. Perfect. Hopping into the tunnel, she began jogging towards what she remembered would be the entrance to their base. It took her around 20 minutes, and upon reaching the huge door she was tackled into a hug. Blonde hair blocked her view. Hinata didn't know why, but she immediately hoped it was Naruto who was hugging her. Yet she realized the height of the person did not match his, nor did the body structure. "Oh my god, Hinata, you're okay," Temari said, after letting go. Shikamaru walked out soon after, smiling in relief after seeing his co-leader. That smile disappeared after seeing Sakura wasn't there. Right then his girlfriend asked exactly what he had been thinking. "Where's Sakura?" She honestly thought her hair didn't look pink anymore, it was probably closer to red. They had beaten and cut her endlessly until they finally gave up, saying they would come again the next day. She knew from her medical knowledge Tsunade had taught her that she had 2 broken fingers and several deep gashes all over her body. She could also feel blood dripping from the wound on her temple. The pain had left about an hour ago, and now everything just felt numb. She had tried getting out of the restraints, but she ended up cutting her wrists slightly instead. How can she be so weak? She was the leader of a gang, for God's sake. Sakura felt tears prickling the back of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She refused to give up just like that. She raised her head and looked around the room for anything she could use to get out of the chair. Soon after, she spotted a loose screw on the leg of the chair. It was the screw that was holding one of her leg restraints on. She mentally scolded herself for not noticing that sooner. It probably came loose while they were hitting her. After much effort, she finally got her leg out. She then proceeded on kicking the other restraint until it fell off as well. Now onto her hands. If she could kick off the leg restraint, they must be weaker than they seem. Sakura began moving her wrist around until the restraint became loose. She slid her hand out and began working on the other one. Not long after she was finally free, she was about to get up until she almost fell back down. Right, blood loss. Sakura sighed and stood up again, this time using the table for support. This was gonna take a while. The Leaf 11 were leaving Rain's base and heading to what they figured out was the Sounds Interrogation and Torture Unit, which is where they believed Sakura was. Before heading to Rain, they had stopped by the sand and discovered Hinata had safely made it there. Naruto had run up to the girl and hugged her, surprising her. Nonetheless, she hugged him back, equally as relieved to see him. Now they just had to find Sakura. They were almost there. The interrogation unit was in sight. It was an old rundown building, the perfect disguise in all honesty. Sasuke somehow became the group leader, walking faster and faster the closer the building got. No one questioned why, not even Naruto. Although the blonde already knew the answer, the Teme cared for Sakura a lot. Finally reaching close enough to the building, the team began formulating a battle plan to get into the unit. In the end, they decided to split up into 2 groups. 7 people will charge in first, and 6 will come in shortly after as a somewhat surprise attack. Sasuke and Naruto were part of the group to charge in first, so in about 10 minutes' time they were running down several hallways trying to find a glimpse of pink hair. After reaching a fork in their way, they decided to split up and continue their search. Sasuke was halfway down the hallway when he heard slow, almost sluggish, footsteps coming his way. Taking out his shotgun just in case, he slowly walked towards the sound. Yet as soon as he saw who it was, he began running towards them, putting his gun away at the same time. Sakura looked up after hearing the sound of running footsteps and widened her eyes. Sasuke tackled her into a tight hug. Burying his face in the crook of her neck, he began mumbling things about being relieved she was okay. The scene almost resembled what happened when Naruto saw Hinata alive and well at Sand's base, yet the moment was cut short when Sakura's knees began to buckle. Luckily for her, Sasuke caught her just before she could slip from his grasp. Now carrying her bridal style, he was able to see the extent of her wounds. Knowing this was a torture and interrogation unit, he didn't ask any questions. Instead, he began running towards the entrance, which was hopefully cleared by now. It had taken her an hour, but she was finally out of the room and walking down the long, dark hallways. The room was left unlocked as they would not expect her to get out, being tied down and all. About 15 minutes in, her footsteps began to get sluggish, her eyes were starting to droop. She knew she had lost a lot of blood. It was a surprise to her that she was still alive. She was still using the wall for support, and the last time she looked back, which was when she just left the room, her fingers were so caked in blood they left a faded trail of it on the wall. Not wanting to look back and see if her trail was still ongoing, she shook her head and continued her slow walk. Suddenly she stopped again, noticing how she couldn't hear her footsteps when she walked. She could only hear a quiet buzz, like the one you hear if you hit your head too hard. It must be an after effect of the beating. Continuing her journey, she got 5 minutes in before she was stopped again by the sound of loud, fast footsteps coming towards her. Looking up, her vision was slightly blurry, yet she could make out the silhouette of a man. When he got closer, she realized it was no other than Sasuke Uchiha, making her widen her eyes. What surprised her even more was the tight hug he brought her in, as if he was afraid she would disappear if he let go. Deciding to enjoy the moment, she weakly hugged back. That is, before her knees began to buckle. Guess she used too much energy. Sasuke caught her and looked at her with concern, before he took off running back down the hall. Sakura let herself fall asleep, her body needed a rest. Hinata wanted to cry for the second time today, this time out of pure shock and sadness after seeing Sakura's tattered form. Her closest friend looked almost dead, and it scared her. Ino didn't even try to hold in her tears, as she burst into a sob and ran over to the pink head in Sasuke's arms. Let's get back to the leaf, it's the closest to here and Sakura needs medical attention ASAP. Neji said, holding Tenten's hand and beginning to walk out of the building. Everyone nodded and began walking out after them, creating a circle around their sleeping leader and her caretaker. Shizune came out of the with a smile on her face, easing everyone's nerves. She'll be fine, but I'm not sure she'll be able to fight in the battle. Shizune told them. What? Why? We need her. She's one of the strongest members of the gang. Lee said, worry once again taking over his features. Shizune sighed. Her injuries were severe, and I'm sure it's hard to use a gun with 2 broken fingers and a concussion. Oh, Lee mumbled. Not only that, but her gashes are very deep and she lost a lot of blood. You're lucky you found her when you did, otherwise she could have died of blood loss. Good job Sasuke Teme, Naruto said, giving him a thumbs up from across the room. Sasuke only nodded. Can we see her now? The Uchiha asked. No, I would like her to rest now, maybe tomorrow. Shizune bowed then left. Everyone slowly started to leave, Sasuke being the last after looking back at the doors of the ER. Everyone had visited her except a certain Raven, and it kind of saddened her. She was allowed to walk around as she regained most of her energy while sleeping, so she decided to pay a visit to her old mentor, Tsunade. Slipping on a hospital robe over her gown, she put on some slippers and walked outside. Going towards the field her teacher was always at, she spotted her under one of the few cherry blossom trees. The field was scattered with rocks of all shapes and sizes, giving the field a strange look. Sitting in front of her mentor, she just stayed quiet, enjoying the breeze with her. Sasuke was running late on visiting Sakura, as his team decided to be very slow with training today. When he got to the hospital, the staff told him Sakura was visiting her old mentor in a field not far from the hospital. Nodding to them, he began to walk towards the field. When he got there he was surprised about how the field looked like, yet his thoughts were forgotten when he saw Sakura under a nearby cherry blossom tree. Walking towards her he sat down next to her, and read the name on the rock in front of her. Tsunade Senju. The graveyard was full of tombstones of all shapes and sizes, which made Sasuke think about how many of those people Sakura knew. Putting an arm around her shoulder, he let her lean her head on his shoulder. They stayed quiet, and enjoyed the soft breeze under the cherry blossom tree. Yes, they had a war coming up in 3 days. Yes, their leader was out of commission. Did that stop the two imbeciles from trying to increase their rank? No. Sakura sat in a chair next to Hinata, watching the boys fighting it out. Sasuke wanted to surpass Naruto so he could fight Choji, and Naruto was trying to defend his spot. Hinata watched with pride as Naruto got a lucky kick at Sasuke's legs, knocking the Uchiha off his feet. Being too tired to continue, Sasuke gave up and walked out of the ring. Hinata surprised everyone by running to Naruto and hugging him, giving him multiple congratulations. Wow Naruto, you've improved a lot since the last time I saw you fight. Hinata smiled brightly. Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head. Well, I've been practicing a lot, he said sheepishly, to try and impress you. He added under his breath. Hinata heard it and slightly blushed, before taking his hand and beginning to walk. Let's go get some celebratory ramen, she said. Naruto's face lit up at the word. Yay, ramen, Naruto yelled, now pulling Hinata as he ran. Sasuke watched on in amusement, before turning around to facing Sakura. Would you like to go out for dinner? He asked. Sakura looked up in surprise before smiling, and nodding her head. Walking over to her and taking her hand, he pulled her up and they walked out of the gym. Hinata sat on the stool next to Naruto, who was currently inhaling his ramen. She honestly didn't understand what was so special about ramen, but seeing Naruto's adorable happy face always brightened her mood. She used one hand to put a stray strand of her hair behind her ear and began eating her soup. When she finished, Naruto was already in his fourth and final bowl. He put some cash in the counter and thanked their chef, who smiled brightly and told them to come again. Naruto then grabbed Hinata's hand and they walked out of the restaurant. They were blasted with cool air as they stepped out onto the street, making them both tighten their sweaters around themselves. The sun was just beginning to set, giving the city a golden hue. What do you want to do now, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. Hinata thought for a bit before smiling and pulling him down the road. Let's go zip lining. Naruto looked up at the building Hinata had brought them to. It looked at least 500 stories high. Hinata-chan? Where's the zip line? Naruto asked cautiously as Hinata began pulling him inside. Stepping into the elevator, Hinata looked to him as they began going up. It's on the roof. Naruto nearly fainted. The roof was really windy, which scared Naruto even more. Okay, I'll strap you on and push you off. When you get close to the bottom, pull this string to stop, before you unbuckle yourself. You have to stop on time, otherwise you'll crash into a wall that connects the other end of the wire. When you unbuckle yourself you can jump off, and you'll land on a huge cushion that should be below you. Don't worry, we do this stuff all the time, it's fun. Hinata explained, ending it all with reassurance. Naruto merely nodded and allowed Hinata to buckle him in, trembling all the way through. Once she was done, she walked him over to the edge and with a "good luck," she pushed him off, walking back to strap herself in. Naruto began to girlishly scream, loud enough that he swore people from the base could hear him. The wind filled his mouth, making him look quite funny. In fact, he couldn't even turn his head in fear that the force of the wind would snap his neck. His fear was forgotten once he caught sight of the magnificent view, the sun setting over the city. Instead of giving it a golden hue, everything looked orange and red. Not only that, but once he relaxed he felt like he was flying. He put his arms out and pretended he was soaring over the city. He was so caught up in the sunset and his own imagination that he almost forgot about the upcoming wall. He let out another girlish shriek upon realizing it was fast approaching. Grabbing the string, he tugged on it with all his strength and stopped right before his nose touched the wall. That was when he could finally hear his frantic breathing. Looking down, there was the cushion, as promised. He unbuckled himself and allowed his body to fall, giving him another adrenaline rush. After bouncing on the cushion for a while, he stayed lying on it and thought about how much fun that was. His thinking was cut short, however, by the shadow of a certain raven-haired girl. Naruto. Move out of the way or I'll squish you, she shouted while unbuckling herself. Naruto complied and jumped off of the cushion seconds before Hinata landed on it, bouncing a couple of times. She came off of it and grinned. Did you like it? She asked excitedly. It was amazing, Dat Bayo. Let's go again, he replied, causing Hinata to laugh. Maybe another time, it's getting late, let's go back, she said, once again taking his hand. Naruto grinned and walked alongside her. Naruto dropped Hinata off at her room and turned to her, almost like he was saying goodbye after a date. Thanks for hanging out with me, Naruto, Hinata said. Anytime, he replied back, looking into her pale eyes. Suddenly he felt himself moving closer to her, or was she moving closer to him? He saw her close her eyes and did the same. Before he knew it, they were kissing. It wasn't a deep kiss, just a short peck of the lips. Yet that didn't stop the spark from appearing when their lips touched. It was probably the best 5 seconds of his life. Hinata and Naruto were both blushing, yet Naruto made a bold move and took hold of her hands. I know we're going into a huge battle soon, but I really like you, Hinata-chan. So will you do me the honor of becoming my girlfriend? He asked, seriousness etched onto his normally smiling face. Hinata blushed even deeper at his words. Believe it or not, she's never dated someone before. Giving a soft smile, she nodded. Of course I will, I like you too, she accepted before once again connecting her lips with his. Later that night, Naruto lay on his bed and smiled. He just got the best girlfriend ever. One day left, Sakura took in a shaky breath as she sat in her office. She wasn't fighting, but that should not have a huge impact on the outcome of the battle. She'll be helping the medics take care of the injured. Tsunade taught her more than just fighting. The pinkette's gaze shifted to the pile of paperwork on her desk and she growled. She really hated paperwork. Picking up her pen, she began tapping it on the desk while she read one of the many papers. All the while she was silently hoping for someone to come and distract her, that way she'll have an excuse for not doing her work. As if her prayers were heard, she heard a knock on the huge brown doors. Come in, she said, pretending to write. Sasuke walked in and raised an eyebrow at her. You're actually doing paperwork? Sakura sighed and looked up. Even if she lied, he would figure it out. No, Sasuke chuckled. Let's go for a walk, maybe that'll get rid of your procrastination. Sakura grinned and got up. Outside was chilly, making Sakura wish she brought a sweater. She glanced over to Sasuke and scowled at his black sweater. At least someone was warm. The pinkette simply crossed her arms in hopes of creating some warmth for herself. It wasn't working out. Sasuke glanced at his companion and raised an eyebrow. How is she cold? He then looks at her attire and rolled his eyes. She was wearing a short-sleeved red shirt and black shorts. Sighing, he took off his sweater and threw it at her. Literally, Sasuke, I could have died. Sakura yelled, pretending to faint. Stop being so dramatic and put on the sweater. Sasuke simply replied. Sakura shrugged and slipped the attire on, immediately feeling warmer. Thanks, Sasuke, she said, grinning at him. Sasuke stared at her before turning his head the other way, making the girl confused for a minute before she faced forward. Sasuke turned forwards as well, once the blush he was hiding calmed down. They didn't go far from the base, since sound members were most likely close by, trying to get rid of some of their enemies before tomorrow. Sakura had been repeatedly asking Sasuke if he wanted his sweater back, after a cold gust of air passed them, leaving the pinkette shivering even with the sweater. Sasuke had now dragged her to a cafe, where they ordered some tea and sat down, looking at the quiet streets. After they ate in comfortable silence, they set out again, to walk back before it gets too dark. The walk was silent as well, but it didn't bother either of them. They got to the base and walked down the many corridors until they got to Sakura's office door. They both stopped. Thanks for taking me out, Sasuke, it was way better than paperwork, Sakura said happily. Sasuke smirked. Sakura, I wanted to tell you something, Sasuke said, stopping the pinkette from opening the door. What is it? She questioned. Sasuke began to inwardly panic. He didn't think he'd get this far. Having the words stuck in his throat, he decided to use actions instead. He put one hand behind her head and brought her forehead to his. Seeing as she didn't protest, he felt a wave of confidence wash over him. Listen, I've liked you for a while now, Sakura. If I don't ask you this now, I might never get the chance to again. Would you like to be my girlfriend? The dark-haired boy let out a breath. He'd finally said it. Now he needed to hear her answer. Looking down, he saw her staring at him in awe with a small blush in her cheeks. "Why yeah, of course," she finally said, wrapping her arms around his neck and hugging him. It only took him a second to hug back. "Thank you, Sakura." Later that day, the new couple walked into the canteen for dinner holding hands. Everyone just got over the shock of finding out Naruto and Hinata were dating, so this really got them. Ino spit her food on Shino, who ended up spilling his drink on Shikamaru. The lazy boy was asleep, and when he woke up he accidentally knocked his drink on Tenten's lap, which caused her to fling the mashed potatoes on her spoon into Neji's hair. Neji then proceeded to stand up in shock, accidentally tripping Lee, who was just walking to their table. He landed face first in Kiba's rice. Lee's food fell on Choji. Not wanting to be the last one to be covered in food, Choji threw some soda on Naruto, who was currently slurping ramen. Out of shock from the soda, he knocked over his ramen onto Hinata's shirt. Hinata's elbow hit Ino's plate, which fell onto the blonde girl. Ino screamed and flung her broccoli straight into Kiba's face. Sasuke, Sakura and the rest of the Leaf members stared for a few moments before they bursted out laughing. The noise was so loud it felt as though the ground was shaking. The Leaf 13 members blushed. "Well, except Sasuke and Sakura. You two are dating now?" Ino asked once everything settled down. Sakura nodded and grinned. She sat down next to Sasuke and they told us all about how it happened. The girls were disappointed they didn't kiss. "Why not?" Tenten asked, pouting. Sasuke simply shook his head. "It just didn't happen, that's all." The girls hung their head. "Cheer up, ladies. It's not like it'll never happen," Sakura said, sweat dropping at her friends' attitudes. The girls immediately perked up. While Sasuke walked Sakura back to her room, he kept stealing glances at her. Sakura was too caught up in her thoughts to notice. They did have less than 10 hours till they took off into battle after all. Stopping at her room, Sakura turned to say goodbye but was cut off by Sasuke's lips on hers. Quickly getting over her shock, she wrapped her arms around his neck and deepened to kiss. When they let go, they took some time to catch their breath, before looking into each other's eyes and smiling. Little did they know, that would be the first and last time they did that for a while. Hinata strapped on a bulletproof vest along with her fellow members. All of them had the familiar feeling in their stomachs associated with nervousness. All except Hinata, of course. It takes a lot to get her of all people scared. She was on the front lines, along with the rest of the Leaf 13 except Sakura. Her pink-haired friend was coming last along with the other medics, although she would usually come first. Hinata sighed. This time it would be only her leading the Leaf's troops. Suddenly an arm draped around her shoulder, causing the dark-haired girl to jump. "Hey Hinata-chan." Her boyfriend greeted her, a bright smile on his face. "Oh, hello Naruto," Hinata said, calming down a bit. She's never been jumpy before, only with Naruto. "Come on, we're about ready to leave, but we can't without you," the blonde said, pulling her through a crowd of armed members before they reached the front. The Leaf 13 were already there. Each had a strong look of determination on their faces. Hinata took a deep breath and turned around to face the Leaf. "As you know, our leader Sakura Haruno is not going to be fighting in the front lines. Don't let that bring you down. She's still going to be with us, healing our injured fighters. Not only that, but you have the rest of the Leaf 13 and the other 5 gangs fighting alongside you. Let's give it our all and bring peace back to America. Let's bring the sound down," she shouted, causing everyone to erupt in a loud cheer. With that, she faced forward and began walking toward sound territory, over 100 gang members following her down the quiet streets. The first gunshot went off, and it was fired by none other than Gaara. There was a moment of silence before all havoc let loose. Bombs went off and people were falling one after the other. At the very back stood a certain Pinkhead, aiding her fallen comrades. They had been fighting for over 4 hours now, and it didn't look like it would let up anytime soon, as the sound had brought backup. Madara Uchiha led a huge criminal organization that was more than happy to help take over a country. Luckily for them, the government sent officers to back the 5 gangs up as well. Perks of being the good guys, she thought. She was brought out of her thoughts by a rush of new injured people to tend to. Wiping her brow to get rid of the beads of sweat forming there, she set off. Pulling on a new pair of gloves, she walked towards the many white tents that were set up. Sasuke shot another enemy in the shoulder, before ducking inside an alley to shield himself from an onslaught of bullets. The Leaf 13 had split up, hoping to cover more ground that way. The Sand had brought hand grenades and distributed them among the other gangs, which came in very handy. Sasuke took one out and threw it at a new group of enemies that were approaching, instantly killing most of them and injuring others. Sadly, a few got away before the explosion, and were nowhere in sight. Checking if the coast was clear, Sasuke decided to go deeper into the enemy's territory. Naruto hid behind a wall and watched as Madara talked to a man wearing what looked like a straw hat, which covered his face. He couldn't quite hear their conversation, but a small bit of information would be good. The blonde looked around before slowly creeping down the alley and into another, getting closer by the second. This wasn't exactly what he was supposed to be doing, but he somehow ended up all the way here and decided, why not? He finally got close enough to hear what they were saying. Surprise attack on the college was a great plan. Too bad the Madara was saying, but a bomb went off in the distance, making it too hard for Naruto to hear. Would make great assets to the organization. Sadly, the Leaf got them first. The other man said, perhaps we could persuade them into joining? Madara suggested. The blonde would be easy, but his friend would be hard to crack, the other man said, and took off his hat. They were my students after all. Naruto gasped. There stood his English teacher. Orochimaru sensei, he had to tell Sasuke. Naruto took off down the alley, hoping to bump into his stoic friend. Sasuke was getting closer to the medic area for the sound, until he crashed into something, or rather someone. Looking up, he saw his best friend, out of breath. Baka, what are you doing all the way here? He asked. I should ask you that, anyways I was looking for you. Naruto replied. Why? It seems our old English teacher is working with Madara, he's with him right now. That pervert was part of a gang? Right? Anyways, we had to tell Hinata. Sasuke was about to reply, but a voice interrupted them. I don't think so. Then everything went black. Hinata saw Naruto run farther into sound territory. What an idiot. She had finally found them before she saw a tall man wearing a straw hat knock him and Sasuke out. They were dragged away by several other men. She would have shot the enemies, but she knew she couldn't. She was in enemy territory, one gunshot and she'd be hunted down and killed. She took out a walkie-talkie and spoke into it. Naruto and Sasuke have been taken captive. All Leaf 13 members meet at the northwest side of the Sound's medical unit. She put it away and leaned against the wall. All she could do now was wait. Sakura took one look at the head medic before she was armed and ushered into battle. Everyone knew she wouldn't let her friends fight without her. Especially now that Sasuke and Naruto were captured. Like hell was anyone getting away with touching her man. The pinkette sprinted down alley after alley until she saw her best friend, leaning against a wall. She was surprisingly the first one here. Hinata looked up at her and widened her eyes. What are you doing here? You're still hurt, the dark-haired girl said. So? I'm not letting you, or anyone else fight in enemy territory without me. Sakura said. They turned around to the sound of running footsteps. Looking down the alley, they saw their friend sprinting towards them. It all starts now. Sasuke woke up in a dark, dusty room. He looked to his left and saw Naruto, still knocked out and sound asleep. He was going to try and shake him awake, but he soon realized he couldn't move his hands. He looked behind him and saw that his hands were tied together and were then tied to a wooden pillar behind him and his best friend. Sasuke took a deep breath and sighed. It was no doubt Orochimaru who brought them here. He had recognized the long, oily hair falling out of the straw hat. The only questions were, where were they? Why were they here? And how did they get out? Everything else could wait for later. Shino and Kiba ran down a back alley while Hinata acted as a distraction. The Leaf 13 had split into groups. Sakura and Sai had gone on ahead to scout the area and see if they could find anything. Neji, Tenten and Lee were the bomb squad, perched on buildings and awaiting their victims. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji were interrogating any sound members they had managed to capture and see if they could locate Sasuke's and Naruto's location. Overall, they were a great team, making quick progress. They knew that the boys were in some sort of storage unit, which narrowed the surrounding buildings down to 23. Sai and Sakura were scouting building number 7, which was right above the boys. Naruto opened his cerulean blue eyes and immediately widened them. How could they get themselves caught so easily? He looked to his left and saw Sasuke glaring at nothing, most likely thinking the same thing. Welcome back, Dobi, the Uchiha said, turning to look at him. Oi Teme, where's the pedo man we call our English teacher? Naruto said. The blonde hasn't even noticed he was tied to a pillar. Probably outside, somewhere we can't go sadly. What do you mean? Naruto asked, about to get up only to fall back down. He couldn't move his arms, which made him finally realize the obvious. We're tied down, aren't we? Really? I didn't notice. You could almost taste the sarcasm in Sasuke's voice. They found them quicker than they thought they would, which meant something wasn't right. It's obviously a trap. Madara is probably in there waiting for us. Neji said. But we can't leave them alone. Lee countered. Isn't it against code to go into unknown enemy territory without 15 or more people, Sakura? Tsunade made that rule herself. Ino asked. Yes, but Kakashi always said those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. The pinkette said, determination in her eyes. I agree, Hinata said, we can't leave anyone behind. Alright, let's go, Shino said, and they were off. Footsteps, that meant someone was coming. The boys immediately tensed as the footsteps became louder and closer. Orochimaru stepped out of the shadows, a cruel smile played on his lips. Well, if it isn't my two top students, he said. Naruto and Sasuke growled. Since when were you part of a gang? A criminal one too. Naruto shouted, he was still confused about that. Since as long as I could remember boy. Now I know this is sudden, but how would you like to join the sound? Ha, like hell we would, in case you didn't know we're part of the Leaf 13. Naruto countered, we're perfectly happy in the Leaf, now what did you really bring us here for? Sasuke asked. Men bring the blonde to the underground cell. Pedo Snake said. A second later 3 men swarmed Naruto, who was yelling at them to let him go but was immediately knocked out. As the men took Naruto away, Orochimaru turned to Sasuke with a glint in his eye. I'm going to propose a deal for you boy, and it would be in your best interest to accept. Sasuke only glared at the man, which made Orochimaru chuckle. As you know, your girlfriend is injured, how unfortunate. What's even more unfortunate is that she can't fight at her full potential, which means she's an easy target at the moment. As we speak I have over a dozen men ready to shoot her at the Leaf's medical unit if I say so, and I'll only call them off if you join the sound. So what do you say? Orochimaru's claim made Sasuke widen his eyes. To him Sakura was still back at the medical unit and not in the same building as him. The Uchiha grit his teeth as he was about to give his answer, an answer that pained him to make. Unbeknownst to him, Orochimaru was only bluffing. They knew the boys were in the basement of the building, they just couldn't find a way to get down there. They had searched the entire storage unit and only found dust, no door or staircase to go down. Let's blow it up, Neji suggested, earning a smack on the back of his head from his girlfriend and Lee. We'll kill them, idiot. Tenten scolded him. As Neji mumbled apologies to her, the rest were trying to figure out how to get to the basement. There has to be a way down there. Hinata mumbled. We really could blow it up. Sakura said. It's not a bad idea. Shino added. As long as we don't use too many explosives it should be fine. Tenten said. Hypocrite. Neji mumbled, earning him another smack on the head. Naruto groaned as he woke up. His hands were still bound but not to a wooden pillar. Instead he was in a dark jail cell that smelled of something metallic. He looked around and only saw darkness. He got up and attempted to walk around, only to fall flat on his face. Since he wasn't tied to a pillar anymore they had bound his feet, so that he couldn't walk. Naruto groaned and scooted back towards a wall, where he leaned back and attempted to think of a plan to get out of there. I accept your deal, now call off your men. Sasuke said, glaring at the long-haired man. Ah wonderful, I'll get you a jacket with the sound's crest very soon. As of now I'll have to leave you tied up for a while, just in case you try to make a smart move. With that, Orochimaru began to walk away. Wait, where are you going? Sasuke shouted after his old teacher. To do some business. Oh, and by the way, if any member of the 5 gangs come down here to save you, fight them as soon as your hands are free. Sasuke was at a loss of words for a moment. What if one of the Leaf 13 come? He couldn't fight them, not only cause they're his comrades but also because he'll lose badly. I'm sorry, I can't do that. He gritted out. I see, I'll just have to call my men and tell them to shoot that pink-headed wretch. Orochimaru smirked once he saw Sasuke's eyes widen, and grinned when Sasuke nodded his head in agreement to his order. Good, and remember, I have people watching your every move. If you don't fight back and go along with them, I'll shoot her and your precious friends." And with that, Orochimaru was gone. No, a little more to the left. Wait, that's too many, we'll blow them up. Make up your minds already. Shouts echoed through the empty main floor of Storage Unit 7, as the Leaf 13 attempted to blow up a part of the floor. "Alright, I think this is okay," Neji said, stepping back to admire his work. "Alright, let's light it up," Tenten said. "As soon as I light it we need to run outside, we'll have approximately 30 seconds. She continued, before lighting a match. They all took their positions, ready to run when she lit it, but not wanting to leave without her. Neji stayed a little further back, to stay with Tenten. "Run," she shouted, and they ran. Naruto sat in his little corner. He had given up trying to get out a while ago. His eyes were glazed over as he was spacing out, but a sudden bang snapped him out of it. The ground slightly shook and small pebbles fell from the unfinished ceiling, confusing the poor blonde. Was there an earthquake or something? He thought. Sasuke stared at the floor, thinking of a way out of his binds. At least he was before the ceiling blew up, making him jump. "What the hell?" he mumbled, his ears were slightly ringing. After the dust cleared, he looked through the hole in the ceiling only to see the sky. He could have sworn they were underground, Orochimaru wouldn't keep them on the main floor. His thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice shouting at, "Who knows? Oh my god, you idiot, you blew up part of the ceiling as well." Hinata shouted at Neji. They could have alerted more sound members than they wanted. Neji hid behind Tenten. "Don't kill me. Please." Sakura and the rest began setting up the ropes they were going to use to get in and out of the basement, since they couldn't exactly find the hidden stairway. "Alright, we're ready to go. Sakura, you go last since you have some broken fingers, so if you fall we can catch you," Hinata said, turning to the pinkhead. Sakura nodded, although she didn't think a few broken fingers would make her fall. There were 2 ropes, so they went down 2 by 2. Once they were all down, they were about to give Sakura the okay to come down but were interrupted by a very familiar voice. He was confused about the explosion, even more about the ropes, and shocked once he saw his friends climbing down. Well, all of them except Sakura. "What are you guys doing here?" Sasuke asked, causing all of them to turn to him. "Sasuke, are you okay? Where's Naruto?" Hinata was the first to speak, running towards them. She was about to cut the ropes binding him but stopped halfway and turned back to their friends, motioning her head towards a hole in the ceiling. Sasuke at the moment was preparing to attack them once his hands were free, but stopped to see why she did that. He was confused before Shino called out, "You can come down now." Sasuke watched as someone came down. He was about to ask who it was before he spotted the familiar pink hair. Sakura. Sasuke mumbled, watching his girlfriend successfully descend the rope and run over to him. "Hinata, you can go look for Naruto with the rest. I'll free him and we'll join you soon," she said and turned towards him, worry in her eyes. Hinata nodded and turned around, running into one of the many halls connected to the basement as the rest followed her. Sakura cut the ropes around his wrists in silence. Once he was free, she threw her arms around his neck and brought him into a tight hug. Sasuke immediately hugged her back, as the sudden realization ran through his mind. Sakura and the rest were safe. Orochimaru was bluffing. He unconsciously clenched his fists as he remembered their deal, that he guessed was no longer valid since it was full of lies. "Thank God you're okay," Sakura said, releasing him from the hug. Sasuke, however, didn't let go and simply buried his head in the crook of her neck. "Sasuke?" she asked. "I thought he was going to kill you," he replied, finally letting go and facing her. Sakura was wide-eyed, before she smiled. "Oh please, I'm the leader of one of the biggest gangs in America. Wherever I am I'll always have some sort of protection. Anyways, who is he?" Sasuke explained everything he knew, and when he was done Sakura pursed her lips, deep in thought. "He'll probably be back any minute now. We should find the others and get out of here," she said. Sasuke nodded. They got up and ran towards the hallway. The rest ran too. Hinata frantically ran down hallway after hallway, hoping to catch a glimpse of blonde hair in one of the many cells. She came across one in the very back, but saw nothing but darkness in it because of the lack of light. She was about to turn away but was stopped by someone calling out to her. "Hinata? Naruto? Oh my gosh, Naruto, are you okay?" Hinata asked, running towards the cell. She quickly sent out a message that she found Naruto and began working on opening the cell, which was way harder than it looked. This damn lock won't open. Hinata growled as she attempted to pick the lock. Naruto frowned as he watched his girlfriend struggle. A couple minutes later the rest found them, including Sasuke and Sakura. Taking the pins out of Hinata's hands, Shino walked up to the cell and easily picked open the lock, freeing the blonde. As soon as Naruto stepped out of the cramped space, he was tackled into a bone-crushing hug and blinded by dark hair. Sasuke had the biggest grin on his face as he hugged his best friend. He's wanted to admit his feelings for him for so long. "Ha, you thought. You scared the life out of me, idiot." Hinata yelled, making Naruto chuckle and hug her back. He missed her so much, it was like a giant weight lifted off of his shoulders once he saw her safe and unhurt. "Sorry to destroy the moment, but we gotta get out of here if we want to get out before anyone finds us." Neji interrupted, his eyebrow twitched as he watched his little cousin hug that idiot. "You're right, let's start heading out. Be cautious of your surroundings," Ino warned. They all nodded and set off, down the dark hallways in the basement of Storage Unit 7. "Let's all get out of here and win this war." Kiba cheered. Orochimaru smirked as he watched the Leaf members walk towards the ropes. How foolish they were to think he would let them go without a fight. Madara was waiting on the main floor with some men in case a few of them escaped, while he and his men awaited the perfect timing to strike. The long-haired man watched as two members began climbing the ropes. One had platinum blonde hair that reached her waist, tied in a ponytail. The other had brown, spiky hair held back by a black sweatband, with strange, red markings on his cheeks. After 2 minutes they were high enough, and Orochimaru signaled his men to cut the ropes. Before any of the Leaf 13 could react, 2 knives whistled through the air and sliced through the ropes, causing Ino and Kiba to fall to the ground, which was almost 10 feet below them. It all happened so quick, the ropes, their friends falling. No one made it on time to attempt to catch one of them. Before this all happened, Ino and Kiba ran ahead, calling dibs on getting out first. They were too far behind. Sai had ran forward but reached Ino right as she hit the ground. If you listened close enough you could hear the sickening crack her head made as it hit the floor. Moments later, blood began to pool around their now deceased friends. Tenten fell to her knees as silent tears fell down her face. Neji wanted to comfort her but was frozen on the spot. Sakura slowly walked up to her lifelong friend's body, her dead body. No, the puddle of blood kept growing. "Wake up." The blonde's chest no longer rose and fell as she breathed, because she wasn't. Ino. Her eyes would never open again. Meanwhile, Shino stood over Kiba's body, his first friend's body. He knelt down and felt his pulse, nothing. His hands were beginning to feel cold, his mouth hung open, expressing the shock he felt before falling. Before falling to his death. Before anyone could mourn any longer, a cruel laugh was heard. It sent chills through their bodies and made the hairs on the back of their necks rise. "Welcome to the final moments of your lives, Leaf Scum. Sorry it had to end this way." The voice spoke, it was very familiar to Naruto and Sasuke. Fury spread through Naruto like wildfire once he realized who the man behind his friends' deaths were. He was going to kill him. Sasuke's thoughts weren't much different. His hatred for that man grew into an intense storm inside of him. Orochimaru. Madara heard an echoed thump as 2 bodies hit the ground below him, 2 down, 11 to go. They had expected Sasuke to go against them once he realized his friends were all right. It was all part of their plan. Although they wanted to kill all of the Leaf 13, they were going to focus more on the leader and co-leader. They also had a backup plan if they were about to be killed. Those brats can't escape them, alive that is. "Get ready to drop the bombs, men," he shouted over to the 3 men standing over the hole in the floor. They nodded back to him before lighting them up and throwing them down into the basement. "Take cover. They're throwing bombs at us from above," Sai yelled, picking up Ino's body and running into a nearby hallway. Lee picked up Kiba's and ran towards the hallway as well. Sakura and Hinata ran as well as their boyfriends. Looking around it seemed that very one made it, except 2. "Wait, where's Neji and Tenten?" Choji shouted, a panicked look in his eyes. Shikamaru ran towards the entrance of the hall, only to see his 2 friends being held back by an army of men. They weren't attacking them, it was like the men wanted to keep the 2 from getting cover. "Shit, they're being held back by some men, we need to help them." Shikamaru yelled. He was quickly joined by Lee and Shino. They were about to run out when the bombs dropped. They lost sight of their two friends in the explosion. No, Lee whispered. His eyes began the water. He quickly wiped them away. A strong fire burned in his eyes. He wasn't just fighting to get out of here now, he was fighting for revenge. Memories of his two friends flashed through his mind, back to when he first met them, when they had just joined the gang. Team Guy. The remaining members stayed silent for a while. They had already lost 4 friends, 4 comrades, 4 family members. How the hell were they going to make it out of there alive? As the smoke cleared, charred bodies revealed themselves. Some were missing limbs, others were so damaged they were unrecognizable. However, there were 2 bodies the Leaf 13, now Leaf 9, could recognize. Tenten and Neji, their arms were wrapped around each other as if they died while embracing one another. They had several burns all over their bodies and Neji was missing a leg. Tenten seemed to have a gash on her forehead that was bleeding, even though she was already gone. Almost all of Orochimaru's men were killed in the explosion, which gave them the perfect opportunity to escape. We have to go, but we can't bring them. Hinata mumbles, motioning to her friends' motionless bodies. What? Why not Hinata? Naruto asked, turning to her. We won't be able to get out of here with them. We can't move fast enough with them in our arms. Shikamaru stated, leaning against the wall. Lee and Sai looked at each other and nodded before gently placing their friends' bodies on the floor, and running down the dark corridors with their remaining comrades. Are all entrances and exits blocked? Madara asked, jumping down into the basement after being lowered with a rope. Yes, they won't be escaping anytime soon. Orochimaru replied. Even though most of his men were killed, he still had a malicious smirk plastered onto his face. Madara grinned and made a hand signal. His men immediately ran into the dark hallways, chasing after the Leaf members. It won't be long now. Shino was dead, some sound members caught up to him and he died protecting Hinata from a gunshot. Next it was Lee, who charged and the sound out of rage, only to be stabbed in the chest. I can't believe there's only 7 of us. Naruto mumbled as they ran. I can't believe we can't fight back. Shikamaru added, looking down. If we fought back we would most certainly die. It's over 100 versus their 7. Choji said, looking behind to make sure they weren't being followed. You all should have left us. Sasuke said, his hands unconsciously formed into fists. What do you mean? Sai asked. You should have never come for us. Sasuke growled in anger. What? Why not? Sakura asked, confusion etched across her face. You all would have been safe. Me and Naruto would have gotten out eventually. The Uchiha explained, his fists clenched in frustration. Sasuke, Choji began. We couldn't leave you guys behind. Why not? Because those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Sakura finished for Choji, flashing Sasuke a warm smile. All seemed well, until the hallways started to shake violently. Boss. We can't find them anywhere, we lost them. A sound member yelled, making both Orochimaru and Madara scowl. I think we have to use the backup plan. Madara said, preparing to climb up the ropes once again. We haven't died yet, I don't see a reason to. Orochimaru replied. If they find the exit, we'll have to find them all over again. There's only 7 left, let's do it. Madara yelled, his frustration getting to him. I see, fine then. Orochimaru agreed, preparing to climb up a rope as well. In 10 minutes, commence Plan B. Orochimaru and Madara climbed up the rope, followed by anyone who wasn't needed to carry out the plan. After 10 minutes, the rest came up and began running as far as they could from the building. What's going on? Hinata yelled, trying to get them to hear her over the loud rumbles as she attempted to keep her balance. An earthquake? Sai questioned. No, Sakura said, using the wall to keep her steady. I think this is their backup plan. Backup plan? Choji mumbled, right as a huge fireball came speeding down the hallway. Run! Shikamaru screamed, running down the hallway with his friends as they attempted to find a room to hide from the massive fireball. There's a room down the hallway. Sakura shouted upon spotting the silver door handle. The fireball was quickly catching up to them. They had made it just in time. Naruto slammed open the door and ushered everyone in, but one person wasn't so lucky. Just as Choji rounded the corner, being the last one in their running formation, you could say, a large chunk of the ceiling fell, trapping the boy on the other side. Choji! Naruto yelled, fear etched into his eyes. The large piece of the ceiling had blocked the fireball's path, but as it dispersed it took Choji with it. Shikamaru stared at the large rock, clenching and unclenching his fists. "Damn it," he yelled, punching the wall. "It seems they're picking us off one by one," Sai said, also staring at the rock. "And that fireball, with the shaking," Shikamaru stated, "they're setting off explosions, most likely in a chain reaction. Here won't be safe for long." Sakura sighed. "Then we better get moving." Taking one last glance at the large rock that blocked their view of their friend, the group of now 6 traveled down the hallways. Every now and then they would encounter fallen rocks that blocked their paths of scorched walls, most likely from a past explosion. "I think they're planning on blowing up the whole building bit by bit, until they trap us in here or kill us in an explosion." Naruto guessed, they had stopped running some time ago. "Most likely. We haven't even gotten close to finding that hidden exit," Sai commented, looking around. Suddenly, a loud ticking noise sounded around them. It wasn't coming from just one direction, it was really surrounding them. "You guys hear that too, right?" Naruto asked, inching closer to Hinata. "Yeah, I guess they got tired of waiting," Sai said, sitting down on the ground. "Hey, what are you doing? Get up, we need to run," Sasuke shouted, looking around for the best way to run. "There's no point," Hinata said, leaning against the wall. Sakura walked over and stood next to her, closing her eyes. "It's over. No way. You guys can't be giving up. There's still 6. Naruto was cut off by a loud explosion. It shook the floor and made pieces of the ceiling fall off in large chunks. The part of the ceiling above them began cracking, agonizingly slow. It crumbled bit by bit, until the whole thing fell. By then they had run off down the hall. Sasuke and Naruto led the group, Hinata and Sakura were in the middle, Sai and Shikamaru were at the back. Sadly, being at the back was the most inconvenient place to be. As large rocks and metal pieces fell from above, Sai and Shikamaru were eventually crushed. The last thing they heard from them was, "Keep running." Beads of sweat rolled down their foreheads as they ran. Each had a pained look on their face. There were only 4 left, and the deceased had died in only a little over 5 hours. Sakura wearily looked around. It was quiet, too quiet. The explosions had stopped about 30 minutes ago, but that didn't stop them. To think they were thinking of giving up, how pathetic. The least we can do is win this war for them, Sakura thought, clenching her fists. Hinata on the other hand had tears streaming down her face, as if seeping through the cracks of her brave mask. She hated crying, it made her feel weak. Hinata looked over her shoulder at Naruto, and saw the sad look on his face. Oh, how she wished she could tell him. Sasuke and Naruto hung back, having a quiet conversation. "We probably went down the wrong hallway," Sasuke said, trying to remember which hallway Orochimaru went down when he left. "Yeah, but it isn't safe to go back there, our path is blocked too," Naruto said. "We're also 100% lost," the Uchiha said as he groaned in frustration. "Well, we'll find a way out, Datbeo. HN. Don't, HN, me teme. I bet if you die, HN would be your last words." "Wait, HN isn't even a word," Naruto yelled, rambling on and on about HN. "Shut up, Dobi. Who are you calling do?" Naruto was cut off by another set of rumbling. "Oh hell, not this again," Sakura mumbled. Hinata sighed, using the wall for balance. "Get ready for some explosions." Naruto was rather confused as to why the girls weren't panicking like they should be. He just brushed it off and waited for the now familiar sounds of explosions. But no explosion came, there was just the annoying rumbling. Sakura and Hinata looked at each other, as if a sudden realization came across them. Right then, a bright light slowly began coming down the hall. "What is that?" Naruto asked, taking a step backwards. "It time," Sakura said as tears began cascading down her cheeks. The girls turned towards them, sadness evident in their eyes. "It was great meeting you guys," Sakura said, looking down. "We'll miss you, eh?" Hinata's voice cracked. "A lot." "Oi, what's wrong? Are we gonna die?" Naruto shrieked. "I hope we meet you again," Sakura said, as the light enveloped them and everything went dark. Sasuke shot up, looking around frantically. He looked to his right and saw Naruto comfortably lying on his bed. "Dobi, get up," Sasuke yelled across the room. Hinata-chan," Naruto mumbled, turning around in his sleep. "I ate the last ramen cup," Sasuke said, a blank look on his face. Wait, what? The blonde screeched, immediately shooting up, only to fall off of his bed. OWW. Naruto mumbled before looking around, his eyes widened. What are we doing here? Dobi, did you by chance dream about two girls, one with pink hair and one with, like purple hair or something, and they were gang leaders? Naruto stared at him for a moment before speaking. That's the most you've ever spoke, I'm proud of you, Teme. He grinned. And yes, I did. Wait, how did you know? I dreamt the same thing. Sasuke muttered, before standing up and walking towards the window. He looked out and everything seemed normal, no fire or gunshots. He turned around and leaned against the wall. Naruto sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the coffee table. How in the world did he have the same dream as Sasuke? His thinking was brought to a halt as his eyes landed on a familiar book, opened onto a page with 5 symbols on it. One of them, however, caught his eye. Teme, isn't that the leaf symbol? Sakura and Hinata stared at the book Orochimaru-sensei wanted them to read, slowly linking the events of their dream together with what was in the book. So, we dreamt about being gang leaders. Hinata mumbled. We had the same dream. How is that even possible? Sakura asked, balling her hair up with her fists. Hinata chuckled. We actually dreamt about being noticed by more than 9 people and having boyfriends. She snorted before laughing uncontrollably. Sakura joined her, the dark-haired boy popping up in her mind. We were pretty dramatic when we were waking up, Sakura said once they stopped. Yeah, but they weren't real anyways. Hinata added, lying down. We figured out it was a dream pretty quickly though, Sakura said, lying next to her. Cause according to the books, the gangs were disbanded years ago. I read that Tsunade is a doctor now. I wonder why she was dead in our dream. What if Ino and the rest had the same dream too? We'll ask them on Monday. Sakura sighed. I wish Naruto and Sasuke were real though, I don't want to be forever alone. Me neither, but we know that the only guys who spare us a glance are the ones in our group. Yeah, sad life. The weekend passed by uneventfully and it was soon Monday, time to get back to class. Hinata and Sakura walked down the crowded hallways, attempting to get to their English class. Not too far away, Naruto and Sasuke were just walking into the building. Sasuke? Naruto asked. Yeah, Dobi? Remember what Sakura-chan said? About hoping they meet us again? It was fake, Naruto. Sasuke sighed. None of it was real, it was just a dream about that damn book. I know, but a boy can dream, can't he? Just shut up, you ramen-loving loser. Hey, that was mean duckass. Don't look at me like that, you know it's true. Meanwhile, the 2 girls were racing back to their dorms, frantic looks on their faces. How could we forget our books? Hinata yelled, nearly tripping over a crack on the path leading to the girls' dorms. We were probably too sleepy to notice. I blame that movie you made us watch last night. Sakura replied, huffing as a wave of fatigue washed over her. Why can't we be athletic like we were in our dream? I hate running. Hinata groaned as they slammed their dorm door open and raced towards their respective desks. Looks like they're going to be late, oh well. Naruto had his feet on the table in front of him, slowly chewing on a Pocky stick. Sasuke on the other hand, was drinking coffee as he looked through his notes. A few minutes later, Orochimaru walked in, greeting all his students with a smile. Upon seeing the long-haired man, the boys shivered as unwanted memories popped up in their minds. He was about to begin his lesson when the door burst open, and Sasuke's breath got caught in his throat. Naruto was confused as to why his friend looked like he just saw a ghost, until he looked towards the door. Hinata-chan, Sakura-chan. Orochimaru led them off with a warning, thank goodness. Sakura laid back in her seat, glancing over at her best friend. Hinata was half asleep, her head resting in the palm of her hand. Their teacher's droning voice wasn't helping their sleep-deprived minds either, in fact, he seemed half asleep as well. When class was finally over, Hinata and her hurriedly packed away their things and left the class, not noticing the 2 boys quickly following them. As they reached the courtyard, they heard their names being called by familiar voices and turned around, shocked expressions taking over their faces. No way, Hinata mumbled, staring at her dream boyfriend. Look, this may sound insane but we met you in a dream and we're your boyfriends. Naruto blurted out, receiving a disapproving look from Sasuke. I.C. Sakura said, her heart was beating unnaturally fast. Well, I guess we got to meet you again. Hinata said, a warm smile making its way onto her lips. Sasuke wanted to feel happy, but wasn't going to believe them just like that. These girls may actually think they're insane, and we're just playing them. If you're really them. Who are you, and what's happening? He asked, receiving confused looks from everyone. Naruto's eyes widened, remembering the beginning of their dream. Hinata stared at him for a moment, before a wave of nostalgia washed over her. I'm Hinata Hyuga. She then looked towards Sakura, as if demanding she introduce herself. Sakura Haruno, and you are? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Datbeo. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. The girls looked at each other, as if contemplating something. Looking back to the boys, they smirked. How would you boys like to join the Leaf? Maybe you can make it into the Leaf 13 again. Naruto grinned from ear to ear before embracing both girls in a bone-crushing hug. Sasuke awkwardly stood at the side. As soon as Naruto let go however, Sasuke pulled Sakura towards him and enveloped her in his arms, giving Hinata a pat on the head as well. You know, Ino and the rest are waiting for us. Hinata mumbled out, as her face was buried in Naruto's orange t-shirt. He sure did like hugs. Naruto grinned, wondering if the real Leaf 13 feet had the same dream as them. Shrugging, he grabbed Hinata's hand and began pulling her towards the eating area, Sasuke and Sakura following close behind. They didn't understand exactly how they could meet in a dream, but they knew for sure that they weren't going to lose each other again.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.